with Red Cedar Professional Inspections. Today we're going to talk about hidden dangers, common things we find in homes that can come out of nowhere and cause serious injury or even death. Today's hidden danger is electricity. Electricity is something we've all grown accustomed to. We all have it in our homes and we use it on a daily basis. In fact, it's so common that the only time we even think about it is when it doesn't work. Like when the circuit breaker trips or the lights go out during a storm. We just expect it to be there and we never give it a second thought. But what if I told you there could be a danger, a real danger, that could seriously injure or even kill you lurking behind the very outlets in your home? Even if they seem to be working, there are serious defects that can occur without the knowledge of the average homeowner. This is a mock-up of a typical electrical circuit you might find in any home. It looks pretty safe at first glance. In fact, we're about to find out that it looks good when tested with some of the most common tools. Still, as you'll soon see, there are some very dangerous things happening in these outlets. Most home inspectors use a device like this to test the outlets in a home. These little $5 testers fulfill the requirements of most certifying organizations. They're cheap and they're easy to use. I've got a bunch of these that I've collected over the years, and they certainly work well, but they can miss some very serious defects that, if left undetected, could result in serious injury or even death. Let's take a look at what these outlets all look like with these little testers plugged in. Now, as you can see, all of these light up, and in each one of these outlets, these last two lights here on the right are lit up. Now, if we look at the little color code on the top, those two amber lights indicate that the outlet is correctly wired. A typical household outlet will look like one of these first two examples. They both have two vertical slots, one slightly shorter than the other, and a U-shaped hole below those. The longer of the two vertical slots is the neutral lead, and the shorter one is the hot. The U-shaped one is the ground. This first outlet is a regular duplex outlet, and the second one is a ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI outlet, like you'd find in your kitchen, bathroom, garage, or on the outside of your house. That's the kind that protects you from electrical shock if you accidentally touch the hot lead. As you can see from the two testers that are plugged in, both of these check as okay with the cheap tester that we have plugged in right now. Sometimes older homes built before the late 60s have only two vertical slots in their outlets, and that's because the third ground wire was not required until the late 60s. So sometimes you'll find situations where these outlets have been replaced with these when they wanted to either update the home or be able to plug in grounded appliances. But what did they hook the ground wire to when there's only two wires in the wall? Well, most likely they made what's called a bootleg or false ground. A bootleg or false ground is found on an outlet that has had the neutral wire jumpered to the ground lead on the receptacle. It works, but it's not a dedicated path to ground should a short occur. Plus, there are other dangers that can occur, as we'll soon see. This outlet has a bootleg ground. So does this one. But you wouldn't know it from looking at the outside. This little tester can't tell either. Still, the danger is there. So how do we test for that? The answer is this. I use a SureTest 61641. This tester does several things that the little $5 tester can't. It measures voltage drop under load, hot and neutral conductor impedances. It tests GFCIs. It also identifies false bootleg grounds, among other things. Of course, all that comes at a price. This one runs about $500, and that's a long way from the cost of these cheap $5 testers, but can you really put a price on your family's safety? Let's plug it in and see what it does. Now, as we plug the tester in, we can see it takes a couple of seconds to analyze the circuit. The first screen to appear shows an evaluation of the hot, ground, and neutral leads in a format much like a little $5 tester. Now, if all of these little circles were lit up, we'd know that the circuit was good. However, here we see something strange. While the cheap tester says the outlet is good to go, the SureTest shows a flashing F for false ground. This tester can tell that the ground impedance is too low to be a real isolated ground like it's supposed to be. So we know this outlet has a false or bootleg ground. Now, a bootleg ground will work when we plug a device into it. In fact, if the device is working properly, we might never notice. However, if the device shorts out, we could have a problem. We need the isolated ground to be truly safe. But as bad as that is, there's something worse. Let's say after this bootleg ground is installed, the previous owner, or maybe an electrician, having a bad day, maybe he was tired, not paying attention, he accidentally reverses the polarity. Now we'd have an outlet with a bootleg ground and reverse polarity. That's dangerous. And that's exactly what we have on the next outlet. We already have the cheap tester plugged in, and it says it's okay. But let's see what the SureTest says. As you can see, the cheap tester still thinks that this outlet checks fine. It can't tell that the ground isn't correct, and it can't tell the polarity is reversed. It looks fine on the cheap tester. And if we plugged in an appliance like a microwave oven, it would work. However, the outside of the microwave would be electrified, and we could get a nasty shock if we touched the metal cabinet. That shock could easily be fatal with the right conditions. Let's see what our $500 tester says. When we connect the SureTest, we see the flashing F indicator, indicating there's a false or bootleg ground on this circuit as well. And again, we can't tell whether the polarity is reversed because in order to do that, we need a good isolated ground wire. But we can definitely see the ground is false. That tells us we need to look deeper on both of these outlets. This is a non-contact voltage tester. When it gets close to an electrified conductor, this little green light turns red. When it's against a neutral or grounded conductor, then it's green. We're going to use this to test this outlet. On the correctly wired outlet, you can see that the neutral wire stays green, indicating it's not hot. The ground, also green, indicating it's not hot. And the hot lead turns red and beeps, indicating that this lead is hot. That's correct. Now on the next one, we know that we have a bootleg ground. But if we check the polarity of the outlet, we see our neutral is green. That's good. Our ground is green. That's also good. And our hot lead turns red. It's hot, just like it should. So this outlet polarity is correct, but it has a bootleg ground. Now let's look at the third one. When we check this one, the neutral is hot. You can see it turns red. The ground is also hot. It too is red, and of course the hot is hot. And the reason this entire structure is hot is because the metal that's inside of the outlet for the frame of the outlet is also electrified because it's connected to the ground and the polarity is reversed. Now if I were to touch this screw with my bare skin, I would actually get an electric shock from that. That could be fatal under the right conditions. Despite the fact that this outlet is defective, it would still work if we plugged an appliance into it. I'll demonstrate that by plugging this light into the outlet, and you can see it lights up like normal. However, if this were a metal appliance like a microwave or a washing machine, the exterior metal would be electrified, and you could be electrocuted by simply touching it. This is something that's very dangerous, and it should be immediately brought to the homeowner's and client's attention. So now we've learned about the dangers that could be lurking behind your outlets. We've also seen how easily these hazards can be overlooked, especially if the home inspector checking the outlets doesn't use the right equipment. When we at Red Cedar Professional Inspections do a home inspection, we look at things with you in mind. We think of our clients as family members, and your safety is of the utmost importance to us. That's something we just can't put a price on. And shouldn't you be choosing a home inspector like that? Hey, if you enjoyed today's video, why don't you do us a favor and hit that like button? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button and make sure you click the little bell so you get notifications every time we post new stuff like this. I'm Blain with Red Cedar Professional Inspections. Have a great day.